the oil holes in your small block Chevy cam bearings. Recommended is between 2 and 3 o'clock if you have a groove bearing journal. So we'll get the protractor out. We'll draw our 90-degree reference line here. Now, since our block is upside down, 2 o'clock isn't going to work. So we're going to have to make it 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Because bearing number 1 has 2 oil holes. So we line up our protractor. So there's 3 o'clock, 10, 20, 30, there's 4 o'clock. Better put another reference line on here for shits and giggles. Line that up with our protractor. Line that up at 90. So now we'll make our 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock lines 10, 20, 30 degrees. This will now be 4 o'clock reference point. See that? I took my screw up and made it my 4 o'clock just so all you YouTubers won't know I messed up. And we'll do the same on this side, 10, 20, 30 degrees. That will be our 8 o'clock mark, because I'm going to install these bearings with my block upside down. Now every small block Chevy cam bearing location number 1 is at the front of the block. It all comes with a card that gives you your number on your bearing in your cam position. I already sorted this box out 1 through 5. So on every bearing there will be a number that corresponds with this bearing card. And this number is kind of half on the lip of the bearing, but it says CH-4-1, which is position number 1, which is a no-brainer because there's 2 oil holes. So if you want to get real technical, you can measure the bearing. I'm just going to eyeball it up to the center here. I'm going to line up these 2 holes with my 2 marginal marks. Like so. I'm going to take my Sharpie. I'm going to draw a point of reference on the back at 12 o'clock. So I now have an alignment mark on my bearing. And this bearing is bearing number 1. When I install this bearing in the block upside down, I will align this mark with the oil passage in the crankshaft main bearing journal. And that will put my oil hole at, look at that, 2 o'clock. Now the rest of the bearings only have 1 hole. They are to be lined up at 2 o'clock. So we'll check the number in this bearing. It's a CH-4-2, which is position 2 or position 5. Same thing. We'll eyeball that up with the 8 o'clock mark. Then if we were to rotate that 180 degrees because our block is upside down, that will actually be the 2 o'clock mark. So to roughly center it by eye, turn the bearing so the hole's on the 8 o'clock line. Put your reference mark at your 12 o'clock point on the back side of the bearing. Same as with the first bearing. Number this bearing number 2, And again, because I'm going to put these bearings in with the block upside down, if I hold this bearing with my reference line at 6 o'clock, which would be the right position, my oil hole is in the 2 o'clock position. And that allows the oil feed to come from the block through the passage and create the oil wedge which is needed to support the camshaft bearing under the intense load of the valve train, so that you don't grind the bottom and spin a bearing on your cam. Because if you put this bearing in the wrong location and you don't get the lubrication at the right time, you'll actually wear the material off the bottom of the cam bearing and your rebuild will be no good. It'll be just a big waste of money. So you do the same thing with the other 3 bearings. Double check your number on your bearing. CH-4-3, oh look at that, that's position 3 and 4. Line it up roughly by eye. Set your oil hole on 8 o'clock, because again we're installing it inverted upside down. Mark at the 12 o'clock position. Have a point of reference, 12 o'clock. This is bearing number 3. Number 3. Any guess on number 4? Same thing. Line it up by eye at 8 o'clock. Put your mark at 12 o'clock. Bearing number 4. This bearing is actually a good bearing to see the number on the bearing. CH-4-3. Position 3 and 4. And last but not least, same thing, eyeballed up center, oil hole on the 8 o'clock mark. Take the Sharpie, mark the point of reference at 12 o'clock, back of the bearing. This will be bearing number 5. And that's it. That's how we line up cam bearings.